A. Co ty gadasz, że mam w tym pokoju publicznym kukułkę, która wybija pełną godzinę? Teraz to garnąłem. Jeśli słyszeliście kukułkę, to...
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Welcome to GGG Live.
Welcome.
Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of Exile Settlers of Kalguur.
Ej, w końcu Krzysztofa Wilczyńskiego wyciągnęli z szafy.
Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your
Są dropy u mnie jak coś. Są tu dropy.
In today's stream, we will take you on a deep dive into the new Settlers of
Currency
Kalguur
Trade Market? With what? O kurwa mać!
its new and revised crafting
Currency Trade
a new
Market.
trade market system for currency, some sweeping balance improvements, including 2
Dobra.
ascendancy class changes, endgame improvements.
To chyba gracze
some further
trade'a są
additions
już...
to the campaign,
już
and some
kochają tę
quality of
ligę.
life features. We'll then talk about our console native port releases and the features that come alongside them. Finally,
Console
we'll show
native
you our new
port.
supporter packs, ending with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile's game director Mark your questions from
Co?
Twitch
Co?
chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes. I'll hand over to Mark now to introduce the new league.
We've really innovated with the content in this league, and I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks. So let's just get right into it with the trailer for Path of Exile.
Trailer.
Settlers of Kalguur.
Pokazują. Dawaj, dawaj, dawaj. Głośniej? Głośniej. Na trailerek. Kurwa, ale hypik teraz. Fajnie, że Krzysztofa wyciągnęli z szafy, bo już się martwiłem o niego.
Rayclast is a cursed land. You'd have to be mad to settle here.
Kalguurowie.
And yet... Welcome to King's March!
Tak!
It's
Tu jest
not
lokacja
much
SP2.
yet, but with your help, we can erect the greatest city Rayclast has ever seen. We'll need resources. And savvy planning.
Kopiemy zasoby. Budujemy, okej. Ej, bez kitu!
Soon we'll attract settlers,
Co ty gadasz?
craftsmen, fortune seekers,
Rekombinatory dodali w ten
and of
sposób.
course, pirates. But if we prevail,
Co tu się
our
dzieje?
ships will be heavy with gold.
I tych zasobów to nie jest za dużo?
We hope to achieve the impossible. We hope to build a home.
Oni serio robią city buildera w PoE. Respect with gold. Dodają... Jak to gold? Dodają golda do PoE1? Warden Ascendancy Class? W sensie, że Raider zostaje Wardenem. Massive Melee Balance. Tak! Co to? Gamblowanie jakieś nowe? Co ty gadasz? City Builder, rekombinatory wracają, totalne usprawnienia handlu, Raidera
In
wyrzucają,
Path of
robią...
Exile Settlers of Kalguur, you will encounter some familiar faces from the Expedition League. Danig, Rog, Tujin, and Gwenin are Kalguuran people who are trying to establish trade between Rayclast and their homeland. They have recruited many curious characters from Rayclast, including some you may recognize, but are also seeking help of a
Chłopy z
powerful
Heista.
exile, like yourself. You will first encounter Johan, the King's Hand and Lionized Watch. He's
Johan.
there recruiting workers, traders, and exiles. Johan, under the command of the King of Kalguur, has been sent here to build a new city called King's March, which intends to become the hub of commerce between Rayclast and Kalguur.
Czyli Kalguur też pewnie kiedyś odwiedzimy.
Soon, he will bring you to the planned site for King's March, which you'll notice has humble beginnings as just a tavern in a field. But with your help, it won't stay like this for long. It takes a lot to build a town. The Kalguurans will ask you to seek out resources
wygląda
that
tak
can be used to
diablowo,
begin
szczerze.
construction. On your adventures, you might find minerals such as crimson iron, which are veins of iron that have been overrun with corruption, spawning dangerous foes when you
Dziękuję
approach.
za 200 zł, Adriana. O kurwa,
Or
dziękuję,
perhaps
Adrian.
orichalcum, which you will have to liberate from the demons worshipping it. Petrified amber attracts mindless, blighted enemies, while bismuth has a strong affinity to the elements and causes the area to become unstable. If you're lucky, you might find vericium, a material as valuable as it is dangerous, and guarded by very powerful foes.
Czyli
Once you defeat these monsters,
Okay.
the deposit will automatically be tagged for mining.
zbieramy
But first,
materiały.
we need to get someone to do the hard labor. This is of course a trade expedition
I co
and
dalej?
nothing is free. Miners, along with other workers that the Kalguurans have hired, must be paid in cold
Ej,
hard
gold,
gold,
widzicie? Gold jest.
which you'll notice
Jest
is
gold
now
po jeden.
dropping throughout Rayclast. You will have control about who gets hired into your enterprise.
Dodali golda.
Once you have accumulated some gold, head to the town and talk to the recruiter, Rolf. He's been busy tracking down hardy folk across Rayclast who are looking for work.
Zatrudniasz pracowników? Co
You'll
ty
notice
gadasz?
each person has their specialties and a wage cost. It'll be up to you to hire and fire as you please.
10 możesz mieć.
Over
Poprawy
the
jest.
course of
Current
the league,
workers
you'll be
0 na
searching for
10.
your perfect employees for each job. Once you have them, you'll have to keep them paid, safe, and alive.
Ej, oni
which
mają
we'll get
koszty
into later.
rekrutacji i wage. Musisz
Here we
opłacać ich
have
na
a
bieżąco.
prospect who has a specialty in mining. We'll start with that so we can begin to retrieve some of those resources we were talking about earlier.
Okej, minera zatrudnia.
Let's go find some more and put our miner to use.
Zatrudnił jednego
we
minera.
found the vein of orichalcum ore.
Znalazł orę.
It's guarded by dangerous demons worshipping
Klika.
a
Pojawiają
strange
się
shrine.
potwory.
The shrine buffs the demons, giving them power. But once you defeat them, you can seize that power for yourself. After that, we can tag the ore, and our mining specialist will get to work.
Okej.
Soon, we encounter a few more deposits, each with a different dangerous encounter. After you have tagged the mineral veins, your miners will get to work collecting resources in real time. They might take a while, but will continue whether you are logged in or not. The work can be sped up by hiring more or better miners.
Oni
and
dodają...
by
A
upgrading
tak
the
akurat
mining
nie wiem, czy
stations
jestem
back in
fanem,
Games Mode
szczerze.
to equip them with advanced
To
pickaxes.
dodają taki... Zatrudnia... Każesz im coś robić.
Some time has passed and our
I
miners
robią
have
to
been
przez
able to
czas.
get the resources back to town. We've also managed to collect some more gold too. We can now upgrade the town
Plemiona.
and build new structures.
Plemiona w Poe.
There's plenty of options. We just need to decide where to start. I think we'll start with the tavern, the beating heart of King's March. It can be upgraded instantly to improve the recruiter's prospects. And you can
Co
find
ty
various
gadasz?
important NPCs relaxing here.
Ulepszasz budynki, mają jakieś
Next,
bonusy, więcej...
we'll upgrade our mining station. You can
To
upgrade
jest
this to
dosłownie
improve
plemiona.
the efficiency of your miners and allocate our newly hired workers to mining. You will eventually need a smelter, where you can send your ore to turn into more valuable bars. Then we
Robisz
have the
barsy
disenchanter,
jakieś?
where you can bring
co,
your
craftujesz z
magic,
tego?
rare, or unique
Disenchanting?
items to be added to a queue to be disenchanted over time.
Aha.
The items will be broken down into thaumaturgic dust, a new resource used for crafting and shipping. We'll get more into that later.
Robisz z tego jakiś pyłek i co z
And
tym
of
pyłkiem?
course,
Jak on
a
będzie działał?
town needs food. You could invest in farming, where you can select crops to grow and harvest. But don't worry, you won't be manually watering anything. The wonders of delegation.
Pszenica, kukurydza, pewnie coś
With
jeszcze.
all these resources piling up, there will be
Ej,
excess
to jest
that we
tak
can spend.
odklejona liga.
Let's
Co to do
talk
kurwa
about
jest? W
rewards
sensie,
and settlers
może
of
być
Kalguur.
fajne, ale dziwne fest.
Eventually
Nigdy
you
nie
can
spodziewałem
build
się
a
czegoś takiego.
harbour and establish shipping routes between a number of different Kalguuran and Karui ports for trade.
Can ship to Kalguur and
You'll
Ganaku?
be able to pile your acquired resources onto these ships and send them to a port of your choosing,
Aha, nie, że my
where your
płyniemy
traders
do
will haggle for the
tam,
best deals.
tylko nasz statek
Each
tam
port
płynie.
will return specific rewards based on what you send them. They accept all types of resources, but will have a preferred type that they'll currently pay more for. And you'll want to get onto this, because eventually you could be bringing in shipments like this.
Aha! Ty, patrzcie co chłop...
This
6 divine'ów.
or even this.
Pokażą coś fajnego pewnie. Jakiś nowy item, czy nie? Nie, pokazują
Today,
przykładową
we're
dostawę.
going to trade with Kalguur. You'll notice that as we send more resources, this risk meter creeps up. Much like the dangers on the shores of Rayclast, there are dangers out at sea. Monsters, pirates,
I
environmental
co jak
hazards.
krakeny ci
You'll
napadną
want
na
to try
statek?
keep your shipment safe. You can do this by hiring workers that specialize in shipping. The more of them you add to the ship, the less risk there will be.
No,
Like this gentleman, who's famous for
prostu
fending
nie
off
dostaniesz
even
nic?
the most dangerous of pirates. Now let's get that shipment going, and we'll continue exploring Ray class while we wait for its return. This is the first Path of Exile League that experiments with true, real-time mechanics. You can send out shipments, go and have lunch, and come back to your rewards. Many mechanics in the League work this way, so you'll always have some ongoing project or outcome to look forward to.
Nie wiem, czy jestem fanem real-time mechanik. Raczej nie, ale dam im szansę.
And at your leisure, you can return to the town to collect your rewards. Our shipment returned safely, so let's go see what we got.
O, jakiś nowy
They've
pasek.
sent us a unique item alongside our rewards, perhaps hoping to secure us as a loyal
Win
customer
word
for
instead
the
of
future.
armor and evasion from equipped body armor.
Aside from shipping, the Kalguurans are big on their technology. They have hired Isla, a familiar face from the Heist League. She is an engineer who the Kalguurans have employed for a very exciting
Babeczka z heistu.
You're not the only one who understands how profitable running maps can be. Once at endgame, Isla can help you build a series of Kalguuran modified map devices.
Czy my zatrudniamy ludków, żeby
You can then
sami
put a
wychodzili
queue
na
of
mapy?
maps into them. If you've hired a few skilled Atlas runners, they will put themselves to work running those maps for you one after another.
Co?
Look, more delegation.
Zatrudniasz
Once
ludków, żeby
again, you'll be
mapki za
notified
ciebie
when the
biegali?
rewards are ready to be collected. You can put lots of maps in the queue, so don't feel obliged to go back there all
Co
the
ty
time.
gadasz? Ej, to giga śmieszne, bo to daje
Be careful,
użytek dla
The
mapek.
difficulty of the map
Których masz
impacts
za
the
dużo.
risk of your workers perishing.
O kurwa, jest szansa, że
Try
permanentnie
to pick
zabiją
your best
twoich
workers, or perhaps just
Exilów.
ones you don't like. Consider the difficulty too. Sometimes it's better to just run it yourself.
Co?
You'll see there are many benefits to having a whole-ass town at your fingertips. Let's talk about crafting services. You
Paniareczku,
should definitely
dobra
consider
mapa jest
building
dla
a
zarządu.
runesmithing table.
Dla
This
pana
is
jest
operated by Danik
reflect.
himself, using powerful Kalguuran blacksmithing arts. He can engrave runic magic onto your weapons using runes. There are many rune types and combinations to choose
Co to
from,
jest?
and you can unlock new crafts that can be applied to your weapons as enchantments.
Rune smithing. Kurwa, miałem
Our
rację,
design
dodają
intention
jakieś
here is to take
formy
powerful
run do
effects you would
craftingu.
usually only find on unique items,
Wszystko, co mówiłem na YouTubie, w moich predykcjach
like
się
this modifier, which you might
sprawdziło.
recognize from Doomfletcher's Prism. Danik can apply it to your two-hand maces.
I to jest jako taki implicit.
There are over 100 different special crafting outcomes, ranging from ones very easily applied to very difficult.
Ma być ich
The
ponad
rune
100,
types can be
powiedzieli.
acquired through trade with Kalguur, or defeating powerful bosses. The Kalguuran tech benefits don't end there. We're also bringing back a formerly overpowered crowd favorite.
Rekombinatory
Recombination.
wracają. Dobra, na
Isla is
rekombinatory
trying
to
to
się ludzie
master
ucieszą,
this.
co?
She just needs you to help her with getting resources.
Jak ktoś nie pamięta,
The
to
system
pozwala
isn't as strong as it used
łączyć
to be,
dwa item w
but
jeden.
it still allows you to combine two items together, hoping to get the best modifiers of each onto a single item.
Nie mam drugich słuchawek Nexus Live, ale siłeczko.
Between running a town, shipping, and exploring, you'll be collecting a lot of extra gold. It is now the primary resource for two huge new quality of life features that we are putting to test.
Czyli gold nie wchodzi
Firstly,
tylko jako
you
mechanika
can use
ligowa, tylko
gold to
permanentnie.
respec passive points. This is a feature from Path of Exile 2 that we've decided just makes sense to port back. The higher level you are, the more expensive it gets. And
Ciekawe,
the
czy
next
wyrzucą
one is
regretorby.
absolutely massive. A currency trade market. The Kalguurans have recruited Faustus, another NPC from the Heist League. He allows you to asynchronously buy and sell currency and most other stackable items with other players without the nuisance of price fixers and people who never respond. All you need to do is select what currency you want, say what you have, and your ideal ratio. It works kinda like a real-life
Ej,
stock
widzicie co
market.
to jest? W
Faustus
końcu
will make the trade
dodali
happen for you,
market
so
do
long as there is someone
przerzucania
selling
jednego
on the other
currency na
end
drugie.
for the same rate or less. You'll be able to go back to blasting monsters
Żeby nie
while
musieć się z
trusty
botami.
Faustus does the dirty work, notifying you when your currency is ready for collection. All you need to do is pay him a small amount of gold for his time. Cards on the table. This is an experiment to see if this type of asynchronous trading has a place in future Path of Exile releases. We are very excited to see how it goes.
Ci pokazują, że dużo konceptów, które
Now,
zadziałały im w
given
PoE2
that
przenoszą do
Faustus is an
jedynki.
expert in black market trade and shady deals, he also provides another service. offering items for gold. The items will generate with random rarity, and on average the modifiers on them are better than normal. This can be a very nice way to get some targeted items during the campaign. For
Czyli mają
serious crafters,
być
it
better
can be a
rolled.
great starting point for making those elusive,
Patrz,
specific
132
in-game
life'a na
items,
pasku, widzieliście
which
to?
perhaps you could take to the runesmith afterwards.
Mają
It's worth
podbite
noting that you can
rolki.
invite Faustus to your hideout, where he will always be available for respecking, currency exchange, and black
Czyli
market
taka
items.
dużo lepsza Gwenen.
As your town grows, it will attract more attention, good and bad. Settlers of Kalguur features 3 endgame bosses that will close in on your operations, wanting a piece of the pie. They might capture and ransom your workers, even your entire ships. You'll have to make some tough decisions. Will you take them on, or pay them off? One
Co ty
example
gadasz?
of a boss
Możesz
is
zawalczyć z
Hassan,
bossem,
the bandit lord.
który napadł na twoich
You won't
pracowników,
stumble
albo na
across
przykład
this boss by
opłacić go,
accident.
haracz,
Instead,
żeby
this unsavory character
cię
can
zostawił.
come into your town at
Co
night
ty gadasz?
and take your Atlas runners hostage, holding them for ransom. What happens next is up to you. Perhaps you'll refuse to negotiate with bandits,
To giga śmieszne.
leading to a fight to defeat Sasan and rescue your workers. If you're not up for the heroics, you might simply pay the ransom in gold.
Bardzo abstrakcyjna jest ta liga. Patrz, rescue albo ransom, opłacenie haraczu.
And you'll just leave them for dead, in true Ray class fashion. They knew what they were signing up for, right?
Weź to wytłumacz, o co chodzi w
Of
tej lidze.
course, the heroics might be worth it for other reasons. These bosses can drop new unique items.
Nowe unikaty? O, pokażcie.
In sum,
Często bloki z
Settlers of
laki.
Kalguur is a very experimental league with new mechanics that will completely change how you play the core game. We've been sitting on a lot of these ideas for a while and can't wait to share them with you. But there's a lot more to this expansion. Let's talk about balance.
Mówią, że całkowicie zmieni się gra.
We've finally
Co to znaczy?
rebalanced the Gladiator. It's been a long time coming.
Rebalans gladiatora!
Like before, there are passive skills that allow you to invest in bleeding and block.
Jest explode.
We've designed new skills replacing some of the old ones.
Nowy keyword,
Like
aggravated.
this, War of Attrition, which is very handy for long sustained boss fights.
Im więcej walczysz, tym więcej bijesz,
Further
kapuje się
alongside
na
the Gladiator theme,
podwojeniu
this new passive
obrażeń.
allows you
Co
to
ty
combine
gadasz?
different weapon types while dual wielding to get a variety of powerful bonuses.
Leech is instant while wielding a
For
claw.
example, holding a dagger will give you more critical strike
Mnożnik
chance,
kryta z
while holding a
daggerem.
mace gives you
To
more
ciekawe,
area of
czyli taki
effect.
gladiator, żeby
Of
mógł być
course,
pod wszystko
you could
zagrany,
just use
każdy typ broni.
Varanastra for all weapon type bonuses. And finally, we have a new notable which allows you to invest in the newly added retaliation skills. These are active skills which require you to meet a certain condition in order to use them.
Nowy typ
Once you
skilli.
meet that condition, you can unleash devastation on your foes.
Takie typu oddaj
Here we
przeciwniku
have
po jego ciosie.
Eviscerate, which requires you to have a shield. Or for those who like to dual wield, Sword Storm, which is great for obliterating bosses. Here
Ciekawe z
we
jakim
have the
gearem, ale wygląda jakby
Divine
miał
Retribution
pierdolnięcie.
skill. This one has the condition requiring you to block. You can then unleash
Co?
a devastating spell, causing lightning bolts to strike the ground in an X-shape
Ej, to
around your target
zajebiste, taki
location,
właśnie na przykład
doing
gladiator pod
huge amounts of
spelki.
damage.
Bardzo versatile to wygląda.
And of course, in true Path of Exile fashion, there are many avenues to invest in these mechanics further on the passive tree and a new support gem. You are able to increase the leeway duration after meeting the
No
condition,
ciekawe jak z tym
reduce
wiadomo
the
na
cooldowns,
Uberach, nie?
or
Ale
just
wygląda jak
increase their
fajny
damage.
mapping.
The world's your oyster.
Bo zawsze będziesz dostawał hity.
The Gladiator wasn't the only ascendancy class we've changed. As we develop Path of Exile systems, we often find ourselves reusing mechanics, increasing their depth, and allowing more avenues to invest into them. As such, the Raider Ascendancy class found itself lacking, with many
Wyrzucają
of its
Raidera?
passives commonly available elsewhere. We want our Ascendancy classes to always feel like they're pushing the boundaries,
Tak, nudny był
allowing you to
Raider, taka
change your
prawda.
character in ways that are meaningful and ideally unique. As a result, we've straight up removed the Raider, rest in peace,
RIP.
and we've added a new class in its place, the Warden. This class is
No widać
largely inspired
nową
by its
ikonkę.
predecessor from the Affliction League,
Ale dużo ma
with
pasji
a few
stone'ów, ty.
changes. The
Pięć,
Warden now
sześć, siedem,
focuses on
9.
elemental attacks, changing the behavior of shock, enhancing
Czekaj, zmieniają
freeze,
działanie szoków?
and replacing Ignite with Scorch.
Co to jest Horfrost?
There's
Jak to
also a skill
50
that allows
szoków?
you to go
O co chodzi?
ballistic with your elemental damage, periodically. The class also grants
Huh?
Bark Skin, which is
O,
a
dodali
skill
Bark
that can be
Skin z
used to
Wildwooda, to
mitigate
fajne.
physical damage from hits. After taking a number of hits, it increases your evasion, making it a great defensive choice.
Bark Skin bardzo fajny. Świetnie się sprawdzał
Finally, the
w
last thing the
Wildwoodzie.
Warden can specialize in is tinctures. These are an
O!
alternative to flasks from the Affliction League.
No
We're
co
bringing
ty
them back
gadasz?
with adjusted mechanics.
Ciekawe skąd się je będzie zdobywać i czy będą dotyczyć tylko Wardena.
Tinctures can be placed in your belt, replacing flasks. You can inherently only have one tincture active at a
To
time,
giga dobre.
and it requires a melee weapon to use. While
Ale tincture są
activated,
tylko pod
they
melee
grant a
teraz.
powerful buff. They
A
can
może
drop as
chodzi o
magic
tego?
items, or be modified with currency to grant extra bonuses.
No.
Here is a prismatic tincture. This one increases elemental damage by 100%
Inflicts
while
mana
active.
burn? Co to jest?
You'll notice it has two extra effects. One is that it applies mana burn every second. Mana burn is a debuff that builds up while tinctures are active that causes you to lose mana, losing more mana for each stack. Tinctures also have a cooldown, so once you have disabled one, no other tincture can be enabled for a time. These changes make tincture use a more active and interesting choice than it was in Affliction.
Okay.
Both mana burn and the cooldown can be modified through modifiers on the tinctures or on the passive skill tree.
Czekaj, czy on wytłumaczył jak
Players
działa
will
mana
want to
burn?
maximize their tincture uptime for sure. Here we have a couple other tinctures. The Poisonberry tincture is excellent for poison builds. The Rosethorn tincture is the choice for those wanting to deal critical strikes.
Czyli są mocno zmienione względem Ligi
You might be
Wildwood.
wondering, with the removal of the Raider, where has the Frenzy Charge investment gone? We've added a Frenzy Charge passive skill to the Deadeye, replacing
Frenzy
the
Charge
Rupture passive
gain
skill.
while moving, to ciekawe.
On
czyli
top
dodatkowe
of
narzędzie
Ascendancy
dla Deadeya.
classes, we have revisited a number of core mechanics. This time taking pains to ensure easy access through the passive tree, skill gems, and simple items. We don't want all the powerful mechanics to be hidden behind layers of complexity. Let's just rapid fire through the key points. If you want more detail later, you can read the patch notes, which will be dropped after the livestream.
O, niedługo patch
Be
notesy.
sure to let us know what you think. There's a lot of changes.
Na pewno będzie rework
be
Shocka,
prepared
tak
for
zrozumiałem.
a bit of a shock to the system. I expect it will take several days for the dust to settle on this one. Firstly, we've made some drastic alterations to melee
Totemy
skills.
wypierdalają. Tak.
Let me just rip this band-aid off. Melee totem skill gems have been removed.
Tak!
We're trying to adopt a philosophy with melee going forward that, unlike
Pierdolę
other builds,
totemy na
it will
melee.
be far less oriented around set and forget gameplay. You will deal the damage yourself, and you should be rewarded for doing so. To compensate, we have buffed the damage on almost every single melee skill. As the majority of this damage
O,
growth
sorry,
comes
coś
from
się
gem
stało?
levels, we
Zaraz
have
się
also
poprawi.
made them cost more mana as they level, but it's nothing like the mana costs on spells. Here are some examples
Wiem,
of
że
the
jest słaba
damage
jakoś,
and
zaraz się
cost
poprawi. O,
before
już.
and after.
Nie, jeszcze nie.
Heavy Strike has gone from dealing 313% attack damage at gem level 20 to a massive
O, już chyba
552%
jest okej.
attack damage.
Czyli
It's also worth
prawie
noting
podwajają
it no
niektóre
longer
skille w
knocks
sile,
enemies back.
ale wyrzucają totemy.
And Sweep
Giga dobra
has
zmiana
gone
im.
from dealing 281% attack damage to
Patrzcie,
now
jaki buff na
dealing
sweepie.
664% attack damage at gem level 20.
Prawie trzykrotny.
These are just two examples, but the majority of melee skills are now dealing approximately 75% more damage at level 20. Of course, with melee comes close proximity combat, so you need some good defensive options.
Wiem, że są tu
New base
problemy z
types with higher
bitrate'em, sorki.
defensive values will now drop throughout the endgame. As you reach yellow, red, and purple maps, you can expect to find higher tier base types in each.
Nowe, potężniejsze bazy.
For example, Val Regalia and Hubris Circlet are no longer the best
Widzieliście
in slot
ten
items
Legion
for Energy
Plate?
Shield.
To ty
There
będziesz
are
miał z
new
5
base
armora
types
na
that
czeście.
surpass them. Combined with some quality changes, which we'll talk about soon, you can now get better items than ever before in these slots. To compensate, we have reduced the amount of flat
1200
evasion
armora
and armor from the Grace and
bazie białej.
Determination auras. But overall, you're getting more defenses than before.
Armor Stacker, login.
On top of this, we have buffed life modifiers on magic and rare equipment. You can now get as high
190
as
life'a na tej
189 additional maximum life from a single modifier on body armors, and more on other slots too.
Pewnie z drzewka zdejmą, nie? Albo
Cal's
wyrzucą
heart has
spell
also
suppressa.
finally been restored to its former glory and once again grants plus 1000 to maximum life.
Tak działał kiedyś
I
Council.
mentioned quality. Quality on weapons and armors is being changed to apply multiplicatively.
Tak, to jest giga ważna
In
zmiana.
other
Quality
words,
jest
weapons with full
multiplikatywne.
quality will give
Ja
20%
przegadam
more
go, bo
physical
o tym już
damage,
wiemy od jakiegoś
and
czasu.
armor with
Generalnie
full quality
quality,
will have 20%
zarówno na
more
broniach,
local
jak i w zbrojach,
defenses.
będzie
For
o
melee,
wiele,
this will mean a
wiele,
damage increase
wiele
for almost
potężniejsze niż
all builds
dotychczas.
using
Więc na
physical
przykład
damage attacks.
różnica na
And it
twojej
will
broni,
mean
czy
more
będziesz miał
evasion,
20 czy
armor, energy
30%
shield,
quality,
and
będzie robiła
ward
bardzo
for
dużą
all
różnicę.
builds. Endurance charges no longer grant elemental resistances, but instead grant additional elemental damage reduction, making it multiplicative with resistances. You can now get 4% per charge,
Czekaj, endu charge
alongside the existing 4% physical damage reduction. To
dają
compensate, we have
procentową
made some
redukcję
changes to
damage'u.
the Juggernaut, and various unique items like Eternal Damnation.
Dobra, czemu to brzmi
You
jakby
can get
Armor
more
Stacker pod
maximum
endu charge
resistances from the tree,
miał być
specifically
najbardziej
around the
pokurwiony na
Revolver
świecie
class
teraz?
start. These of course can stack with the new elemental mitigation from endurance charges. On top of this, duels can now roll maximum elemental resistances as
Co?
modifiers.
Co ty gadasz?
Since we're making elemental mitigation more
Czy oni wyrzucają
accessible,
melding z
we've
gry?
heavily reduced accessibility to physical damage taken as chaos or elemental damage. Those stats are still around, but you should not expect to be getting full conversion anymore. All block passives have been buffed, so you can now more easily achieve block cap from just
Dużo
the passive
buffów
tree.
bloka, a będzie można blokować Ubery?
Keystone Versatile Combatant has been improved to have less of a penalty to maximum block. A number of Life Leech passives have been buffed to generally allow for more acquisition of maximum leech rate for life.
Okej.
Vow Pact has been reinstated to its former glory.
O kurwa!
Instant Life Leech.
Life Leech on melee damage z instant.
We've reworked Flesh and Stone.
Dobra, kto grał
Previously,
kiedyś,
this buff
ten
skill granted maim and blind,
kojarzy.
depending on the stance of our character. Now, while in Sand stance, the skill simply provides damage mitigation, becoming more effective the closer you are to enemies. While in Blood stance, enemies will take more physical
Ej,
damage
melee brzmi
the
tak
closer you
OP
are
w
to
tej
them.
lidze.
This skill will now greatly
Imagine
favor melee
nie grać
or
melasem.
close range gameplay.
Co tu się dzieje?
Given we're doing a Kalguur League, Ward has also received a bit of attention.
Wiedziałem.
There are new uniques that grant
tak dużo
ward,
rzeczy
and the
przewidziałem.
base restoration of ward is now
W
faster.
filmiku moim na YouTubie.
To
XD.
compensate, Olroth's resolve has been nerfed, but ward loop builds will still be possible.
Ty.
Anyway, that was most of the purely defensive changes. Now let's look at some of the
Czekajcie, muszę się
offensive and
zmutować na chwilę.
utility-based ones. Wands, daggers, scepters, claws, and staves now have higher critical strike chance values than ever. Wands can go as high as 10% without modifiers. Sandstorm Visage has been made rarer to compensate, instead of reducing its power. For you wand attackers, wands now have higher attack
Okay,
speed than
chyba,
ever
że jest
to
okej.
compensate for their low damage. Wand exclusive skills such as Power Siphon, Kinetic Bolt, and Kinetic Blast now have faster attack times. Impale
czy
passives
coś
have been
mnie minęło.
revised and in general buffed.
Czyli są również buffy dla Impala.
The buffs granted by Warcries are now simpler but more significant, and more universal to builds. They also now apply to allies by default.
Co ty gadasz?
Banners have been reworked.
Buffy
Instead of having a
z Warcry'ów
reservation
będą
cost,
się aplikować
they
do
are now
sojuszników. Ale to...
However, they don't
Nie wiem,
grant
czy
a
jestem
permanent
fanem
buff.
party playu, ale może ktoś się
Banners
ucieszy.
now need to be placed for the effect to be active. However, once placed, they are far more powerful than before.
A to fajna zmiana.
Additionally, there are
Banery
new
musisz
ways to
położyć,
prolong
żeby
the
działały, ale
effects
będą dużo silniejsze.
and more ways to invest
Najbardziej
in
mnie
them
wkurzało,
than
jak ktoś
ever
grał
before.
czempionem i nie kładł banerów. Jak leniwą bułą.
Rage
Co
has
to jest
been made
Valor?
more
Pokazali przez chwilę
fundamental
Valor,
and
nową
discoverable.
statystykę.
Rage is now multiplicative attack damage, but no longer
Rage
inherently
jest
grants attack
mnożnikiem
speed
damage'a.
or movement speed. It has a new cap, and you can find many new passive clusters that allow you to invest into the mechanic.
Ale
The goal is to
dużo
make
nowych
Rage
narzędzi
more
dostało
powerful as
mele,
a
to jest chore.
baseline, and less gated behind the use of specific unique items and ascendancy classes. Berserk has been nerfed, just so you're aware.
Czekaj, co został nerf?
We have
Nie
changed how
usłyszałem.
bleed works too. You can now find aggravated bleed on the passive tree. When applied, all bleeds on the enemy will deal damage as if the enemy is moving for the remainder of their duration.
Aggravate jest ciekawym efektem, nie?
The skill Ensnaring Arrow no longer interacts with bleed, so no more will you have to apply bleeds and swap to a bow. You can now achieve the same result using aggravated bleed passives without the annoyance. Rupture from the Deadeye has been turned into a support gem. We've added the new Overexertion support gem, which highly favors slam builds.
Okej, slamerzy mają nowe narzędzie również. Im więcej
Now,
masz warcraftów
it's time
aktywnych,
to
tym więcej
look at a
obrażeń.
hot topic.
O,
Magic
zmiany
Find.
MF-a!
In the Settlers of Kalguur expansion, we are going to be removing item quantity bonuses from all character items. This will not affect existing items in standard leagues.
Nie będziesz
Magic
quantity
Find is
poza
intended to be
standardem.
another access on your gear you can scale once you have achieved the power you want. With item quantity being only available on unique items, this meant if you wanted to get the most out of it, you had to be playing a very specific build. We still want people to be able to invest into Magic Find, but now only through item rarity.
Czy będzie z rework
This
rarity
can be
pewnie, nie?
obtained
Na
on a
bank.
number of rare item slots and by a much larger number of builds. What about Ventor's Gamble, you might ask? Here it is now.
Mana reservation
This
na
is one of
Ventorze.
the biggest balance patches we've ever done. I can't promise that existing builds will all be safe. Even we aren't able to predict all the outcomes here, nor have we even gone into every single change. Just the major ones.
Ale
I don't know,
zmian, co ty
man.
gadasz?
Balance is hard. But the sheer number of new, viable options is exciting, especially for melee. And we're determined to drag the game in a better direction. Be sure to read the patch notes after this. It's going to be a ruckus.
Dobra, patch notesy trzeba lekko przejrzeć, ale powiem wam, te zmiany MFA, wiem, że wiele osób to wkurwi. Wiem, że wiele osób to wkurwi. Powiedzmy sobie szczerze, ale to chyba dobre dla gry.
To improve these systems and
To chyba
introduce
dobre dla
more
gry.
exciting in-game content every league. 325 is no exception. Let's check out the myriad of changes coming
Endgame
in
content.
Settlers of
Właśnie,
Kalguur.
bo jeszcze nic nie wspomnieli o endgame'ie.
First up, we are changing many scarabs. We won't go into too much detail here to avoid getting lost in the weeds, but here's a few new ones. Be sure to check out the patch notes after this
Nie
for
no,
more
te zmiany
detail.
mele w połączeniu ze zmianami
We've
temów
also
wyglądają
added an
tak
additional
potężnie.
map device slot, which will be unlocked upon completing your first 10-way Maven encounter. This simply allows for more combinations of scarabs and maps, resulting in more difficulty and more rewards.
Amanda, dziękuję
This
ślicznie
is
za
on top
rajdzika.
of the existing
Dzięki wielkie.
additional slot that can be unlocked by completing your first tier 17
To jak
map.
ktoś nie widział,
There are
widzowie,
now 6 map device slots in total.
będzie 6 map device slotów, jeden
You
z
might
nich
have
będzie
seen
za...
our teaser, where we revealed we'll be adding new special encounters to the endgame. One such encounter is the Nameless Seer, lurking in
Uwielbiam
tier
Nameless
16
Seera.
and 17 maps.
I on może dwie rzeczy
This
zrobić, tak?
NPC will give you a selection of unique items,
Albo
and
dać
you
ci
can
uniki
pick
jak do tej
one for
pory,
free.
albo co?
In tier 16 maps, he now has an additional feature.
Scry
where you
a
can
map.
scry
Co
a
to
map.
znaczy do cholery?
This allows you to swap the divination card drops of the current map with another map on your
Co
atlas.
ty gadasz?
Just one caveat. You cannot have the same map be in multiple swaps at the same time.
Co ty
If you
kurwa
want to
gadasz?
undo your choice, you can use a
Zamieniasz
scouring
kartę z
orb on
jednego
either
layoutu
map
na
on your
drugi?
atlas.
Ale
We've also
dobre.
made some updates to a couple of leagues. Blight has been updated with some Atlas passive skill changes. And double anointed amulets can now drop in Blight Ravage maps.
Z Blight Ravage Map możesz
We've
dropnąć
also
rzeczy z
introduced a new
dwoma
type of oil that can only
anointami.
drop from Blighted and Blight Ravage maps. Ritual has also been updated. You can now find one new and many reworked base types,
Okej.
new unique items,
Pacify, co to jest? A, to są, wiem, to są...
corpses you can use
Z
to raise
Wildwoodu.
as specters, and occasionally a fragment, granting access to the King in the Mist's boss
O,
fight
That Which
from
Was
the
Taken
Affliction
wraca.
League.
Czyli
He will
Rytuał i
drop a
Blight
number of unique items that were
dostał
familiar
ogromne
from the
buffy.
league, but not that which was taken, as it is now that which was taken away.
Czekaj, czy nie
However,
będzie That
he
Which
now
Was
drops
Taken?
a different modular jewel that you might recognize from the Necropolis League.
Ha? Aha.
In
Okej.
tier 16 and
Kurde,
tier
to akurat
17
wolałem
maps,
That Which
you
That
can
Which
now
Was Taken.
encounter the Wildwood, Also from the
Ale może
Affliction
było
League.
zbyt dużym power creepem.
In case you missed it, the Wildwood is a mysterious forest fraught with danger. In the darkness, you will find magical wisps yearning for freedom. Upon releasing them, they will empower the monsters in your
Ciekawe,
map,
czy będą pasywki
promising
pod
more
Wildwood.
danger, but more rewards. You may also find random sentinels on
What?
the ground near the start of your maps.
Możesz
From the
wykopać
Sentinel League.
sentinel na niektórych
They
tier
work in a
16 i tier
similar way to
17.
before. They aren't items, but you can click on them and then they can be activated in that area at any time of your choosing.
Tak, będą
Upon
stratery.
activation, they will buff monsters around you, increasing their difficulty and rewards.
Ale pojebana
And
akcja.
here's one for those who like to live dangerously.
Nie sądziłem,
You
że
may
kiedykolwiek
occasionally
wróci
find a
sentinel.
reflective mist from the Kalandra League. It has two outcomes.
Nawet
It could
kalandra
drop a jewelry
wróciła i
item
to
with
fajny
randomly
element kalandry.
enhanced or inverted modifier values,
Oni przywrócili
or
najfajniejsze
it can give a
elementy
reflecting mist item, which can be used on an
Lig z
existing
przeszłości.
piece of jewelry to
Giga dobre.
perform the same action at a time of your
i możesz
choosing.
to od razu zitemizować. Nie musisz
There's
nikogoś
many other
wołać
small
przez, nie
changes
wiem,
to League
Discorda.
content. We're removing the first 15 most boring waves of the simulacrum and rebalancing its rewards to improve the
I
chances of finding
skracają
unique jewels.
simulacrum połowę.
We're also adding some of the beasts from Einhar's Memory of Harvest Beasts to the core pool.
Ej, to dosłownie jest takie
This includes
Legacy.
the Black Morrigan.
Legacy 2.0 tuż przed PoE2.
In other news, we've added a set of new chisel types,
Nowe
which
chisele.
can be applied to your maps to get different bonuses. While the cartographer's chisel still increases item quantity, there are new ones that now increase rarity, pack size, increased chance for
Pas pack
currency
size'em
items,
są.
divination
Widzieliście?
cards, and scarabs. It's also worth mentioning that chisels now apply 20% quality per chisel to white maps, 10% to yellow maps, and 5% to red maps and higher.
More divination cards.
Unique maps
A ile
still
pack
require
size'u
the
ciekawe
full 20
dodają.
chisels. Also, only one type of chisel can be applied to a map at a time.
Dobra, myślę, że takie chiselki
During
z pack size'em.
3.24, we made a change to Tier 17 maps that allowed them to be rerolled with Chaos Orbs. We are now expanding the currency types that can be used on them to also include currencies like chisels and
Ale ja
valuables.
liczę na więcej zmian z tier 17, szczerze.
Ultimately, the only restriction Tier 17 maps now have is that explicit modifiers cannot be removed from them. We have also revised the difficulty of these maps, as they didn't quite hit the mark.
Aha, chyba nerfy dostają.
The monsters in them now have substantially less life and deal less damage.
Tak,
meaning
duże
Tier
nerfy.
17 maps now better fit into the progression between Pinnacle
To jest
and
dobra
Uber
zmiana.
Pinnacle
Tier
content.
17 były o wiele
Lastly,
overtuned.
we've adjusted the
Według
drop
wielu
rate
graczy
of
trudniejsze
Valdo's
niż
puzzle
Uberbossy.
boxes. Previously, we were adapting its drop rate based on the possible outcomes selected by supporters. So many supporters really wanted Mage Bloods, so the box was hardly dropping. Thus, we have drastically increased the drop rate of the box.
No to fajne, to jest
but
fajny content
reduced
na
the
streama w
probability
ogóle,
of getting
otwieranie tych
chase unique
skrzynek,
items
więc
from it, like
ja
Mage
się
Blood.
cieszę.
Overall, we have taken care not to reduce the number of Mage Bloods total in the economy. We figured it was better to have more tickets for fun rather than barely seeing any boxes in a league.
Dobra zmiana. Znaczy, nie wiem czy
We've been
dobra.
hard at work
Ja lubię.
improving the Path of Exile
Może nie
experience
wiem
on
czy dobra, ale ja
consoles.
lubię. Ja lubię takie...
With native ports for the
RNG.
Xbox Series consoles already being released and PS5 on the near horizon, the game now takes full advantage of the console hardware. Loading times have been reduced even further.
Ogromne
pop-in has
poprawki
been
konsolowe
reduced,
mają być.
and textures
Natywny
won't start
port.
unloading in heavy scenes.
Wiem, że jest trochę konsolowych
Furthermore,
świrów u mnie, więc...
overall visual fidelity has been
fajnie dla
improved
was, I guess.
for all new generation consoles. Path of Exile now uses the highest available resolution textures and water effects.
Ma być ładniejsze, szybciej się
We've
ładować
installed a
i w
new
ogóle.
upscaling
Wszystko.
algorithm that improves the crispness of dynamic resolution, with an additional anti-aliasing pass on top of that. With these upgrades, we also support variable refresh rate TVs and monitors on PlayStation 5 and on all Xbox consoles. In the options, players can now choose which aspect of visual fidelity they want to focus on.
Pokazują
Resolution,
rzeczy
image
natywny
quality,
port konsolowy
or
na
target
live,
frame
wiesz?
rate.
Będziesz mógł w końcu zagrać na konsoli.
In 3.24, we added some new encounters and secrets to the campaign.
O, czekaj.
In settlers
Campaign
of Kalguur,
improvements.
we're adding even more. We're not going to spoil them all here, but keep an eye out for anything unfamiliar on your adventures. Who knows what you'll find? I mean, I know,
Aha,
but still.
Chyba nie chcą zdradzać,
There's
tak?
an underground bunker underneath the refinery, guarded by powerful robots. I wonder what's been hidden away here.
Takie
How
elementy
do I
ligowe
unlock this
znowu
mysterious
przychodzą.
door? what riches must lay
do kampanii.
inside.
Tak jak na przykład do tej pory w Walowie.
And sewers of San.
Za 20 minut? Nie wiem.
A vault containing riches can be found in the reliquary. As you might have seen in our teasers, there's a slew of quality of life features we've been working on. Here's a quick summary. You'll no longer need to interact with waypoints to unlock them. You can just walk by and
A
they'll
to quality of
activate
life zmiany już
automatically.
pokazywali wcześniej,
When
nie?
using keyboard and mouse,
Takie
you'll be able to pick up
pierdółki,
items from
ale
further
fajne,
away.
że możesz z większego
We're
range'a
adding
podnosić
static life
przedmioty,
bars
że
to some
możesz,
bosses.
że masz HP
Not all bosses
Barbossa
will have
na
them
cały
just
ekran,
yet,
który jest
but
cały
we'll
czas
be adding
pokazany.
more over time. You can now see which divination cards drop in each map by
A to
hovering
jest giga
over them
dobre,
on your
bo do tej
atlas.
pory musiałeś mieć
When you
otwartą
die,
przeglądarkę
you
cały
can
czas,
now
żeby zobaczyć te
resurrect
karty.
without having to reactivate all your reservation effects, like auras and heralds. You can start harvest encounters with just a single action.
To większość z tych zmian widzieliśmy wcześniej, powiem szczerze. W sensie, widzieliśmy wcześniej, bo oni hypowali, może część z was nie widziała, hypowali je na Twitterze
Those
przez ostatnie
currencies
2
now apply
tygodnie.
a 20% quality to very low level items, with that amount reducing as the item level increases. Next up, we're going to be talking about our
Nowe
new
skinki.
league
Dobra,
supporter
zobaczmy
packs.
jeszcze.
Today, we're launching two new series of supporter
Wydam
packs,
pieniądze czy
the
nie?
Paladin and Penance packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in
Fajne
points,
są ostatnio te supporterki,
alongside
powiem wam
several
szczerze.
exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Settlers of Kalguur League and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way.
Elementy pay to win, myślisz?
The Paladin series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Hideout pewnie.
Adorn your weapon or shield with the Paladin weapon effect.
Trochę clunky wygląda,
Make
szczerze.
a show of leveling up with the Harpy flyover level up effect.
Ten level up efekt też mi się nie podoba. Dobra.
Equipping the Divine Paladin armor set will periodically cause slain enemies to be consecrated and laid to rest. This set also comes with a matching back attachment.
O, back
Both the
attachment z
helmet
książką
and
akurat
back attachment
zajebisty.
have options to display
Bo ja nie
the
lubię tych
radiant
wszystkich
glow
skrzydeł
or not.
wielkich i
You
tak
pick.
dalej.
The Divine Judgment finisher effect locks onto unique enemies before obliterating them with a
To
laser
fajne, ale
from
nie na
the
HC,
heavens.
bo wolę nie mieć spamu efektów
May
wizualnych na
your
ekranie.
critical hits resonate across Rayclast with the Cleric's
Ty,
Bell back
patrzcie,
attachment.
dodali atak mnicha z
Invite
PoE2,
your friends to
ten
spend
dzwon
a day at the
na
races
plecy jako
in the
back
Vasteri
effect.
Racecourse hideout. Add rowers to the track to race them against each other.
Ale pojebany hideout. Obstawiasz stary na roa.
Or you can just spectate from the sidelines. The Penance Pack series also has 6 exclusive
Ten pierwszy support pack mi się nie
microtransactions.
podoba, szczerze.
With the Penance Back attachment equipped, a repentant soul is chained to your back and lashed with lightning. Ouch. Place none other than the Trial Master
Okay.
in your hideout and have him comment on your chaos.
Czyli dodajesz gościa po to, żeby wyśmiewał cię, jak ci temki nie wchodzą?
And Val crafting attempts. He even keeps a record of how many Chaos and Val orbs you've used in your hideout during the league, or across all
Czyli
leagues.
dodajesz stary hejtera.
Blood stains your armor the more life you lose when wearing the Acolyte's Penance armor set. The Zealot's Madness portal effect fragments as you near it.
Ej dobra, ten portal jest zajebisty.
The Cauldron map device boils maps, fragments, and scarabs placed into it, keeping a tally of how many have been thrown into the pot
Lubię te
in the
takie
current league
liczniki.
or across all
Ktoś
leagues.
mógłby powiedzieć, że to trochę pay to win, to ułatwia ci kalkulowanie
The
na przykład.
exiled squire pets follow in your footsteps, hyping you up for battles,
Żeby mieć
provide
peta człowieka?
pessimistic commentary,
Nie wiem, co o tym sądzić.
or voicing their disdain for you to bring you down a peg. These packs are now available for purchase on both PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile, Settlers of Kalguur.
Kurde, ale mam mętlik w głowie,
Meanwhile,
bo jest
the
taki
Solar and
natłok
Eldritch
różnorakich
packs leave the
informacji
store forever
co do
at
samej
the
ligi.
launch of Settlers of Kalguur League.
Zrobimy
Much for
sobie
your
podsumowanie, jak
ongoing
wrócę do Polski. Jeszcze jedno ogłoszenie.
We are soon going to be running a small closed beta test for Path of Exile 2. We have been taking sign-ups for the Path of Exile 2
Closed beta
beta
niedługo.
tests over at
Wchodźcie, zrejestrujcie się.
pathofexile2.com.
Rejestrujcie się, widzowie. To jest giga ciekawe. Powiem wam szczerze, nie spodziewałem się, że tak obszerne aż będzie wszystko, co tutaj widzieliśmy. Czyli podsumowujmy najważniejsze informacje. Mamy nową ligę, która wydaje się totalnie ogromna i czymś totalnie nowym. To znaczy będziemy mieć efekty, jakby elementy city buildera, co jest totalnie popieprzone i nie sądziłem, że może pasować do PoE, ale może GG mi udowodni, że jest inaczej. Zobaczymy niedługo. Mamy ogromne reworki mele. Jest ogromna szansa, że mele będzie OP, chyba że w patchnotesach ukryją się jakieś takie schowane nerfy, o których nie wspomnieli tutaj, mam nadzieję, że nie. Jest ogromny rework Gladiatora, jest całkowity rework Raidera, tak mocny, że aż zmienili mu nazwę z Raidera do Wardena. Duże zmiany dotyczące tier 17 nadchodzących, duże nerfy. Mają być nowe bossy, dużo nowych unikatów klasycznie, ale to tak akurat jest praktycznie zawsze. Bardzo duże zmiany do samego mapkowania na tier 16 i tier 17, dodatkowe encountery takie jak Wildwood, Nameless Seer, Sentinele, buff starych, niedoużywanych unikatów, takich jak na przykład Helm's Heart, co jeszcze pokazali giga ważnych rzeczy. Nerf MF-a. Zmiany MF-owe ogromne. No powiem wam szczerze, że jestem ciekawy. Jestem giga ciekawy, bo wygląda na ogromne zmiany. To jest chyba, nie zapowiada się jeden z największych patchy od giga dawna. Czy chyba powiedzieli, że to będą najdłuższe patchnotesy kiedykolwiek? Czy powiedzieli coś takiego, czy sobie ubzdurałem? Powiem szczerze, ja okupuję w tej chwili miejsce publiczne tak naprawdę. Wkurzyłem trochę ludzi tutaj, okupując kuchnię przez godzinę, żeby zrobić streamka, żeby sobie z wami obejrzeć, bo nie mogłem tego odpuścić. Dziękuję wam ślicznie za obecność. I słuchajcie, napiję się dzisiaj toaścik za nową ligę i za was widzowie. Za was widzowie również, oczywiście, że tak.